Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here, and today's best books of 2016 category is science fiction and fantasy. So within this category, I've just included all the science fiction and fantasy, so that could be YA or adult. So let's dive in. Firstly, I have Every Heart is a Doorway by Sean Maguire. This one took me by surprise. I was hearing mixed things about it, and then I was very lucky that Mercedes from Mercy's Bookish Musings was getting rid of her copy because she wasn't as keen on it, and I thought, right, I'm going to give it a go, and oh my god, did I love this. It's super short, coming in at under 200 pages, but we follow Nancy. In this story, a load of children have already gone to their Wonderlands or Neverlands or Oz's, and they've come back, and or not all of them, but some of them have come back, and they don't know how to assimilate into the real world. Luckily, there is this boarding school to sort of help them. Their parents believe they've gone through some sort of mental breakdown, and so send them to the school because they believe that's what the school is there to help with. And actually it kind of is, but it's a support place, a place they can talk about where they've been, and it's just brilliant. There's sort of a murder mystery going through it as well, and I just love this, and I'm so excited to read the next one. So this deserves its place in my best books of 2016. Next up was a big surprise for me, because I read The Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas, and I was a bit it was all right, but I wasn't loving it. It was pretty average, and so I wasn't going to read the second book in the series until this massive buzz on BookTube began. And this is the power of BookTube, because I thought to myself, oh, do I, don't I? Everyone was saying, oh, it's much better than the first one. It really gets going. It's great. So I bit the bullet and I tried it, and it was great. It was great. It was brilliant. It was just everything I'd wanted the first one to be and more, and it really pulled through for me, and I just can't wait for the next one. I can't tell you about this one because it would spoil the first one, but the first one, A Court of Thorns and Roses, is a sort of play on Beauty and the Beast. It's brilliant. I really enjoyed this. Next up is also not the first book in the series, and that is The Daylight War by Peter V. Brett. This series starts with The Painted Man and then The Desert Spear, and The Daylight War is the third book in this series, and it's a brilliant one. I really enjoyed reading this. The Painted Man was one that was recommended to me by Caitlin of Kitty G, and I always get wonderful recommendations on science fiction and fantasy from her, and she said I would really enjoy it, and so I tried it and I did really enjoy it. It's the story of these demons, and it's set in sort of a medieval setting, and people live in these little sort of townships, and at night these demons, various different types of demons, raise from the ground, and the people hide in fear in their houses, which are warded with these sort of symbols that they use, these magical wards, but the demons find ways through where the wards have maybe worn down and people get killed, and it's all about this group of people who come together and how life changes for everyone, and how they sort of start to fight against these demons, and it's brilliant. I really love it. It's such a brilliant series, and I can't wait for the next one. Two books that thoroughly deserve their way onto this list is Illuminate and Gemena by J. Christoph and Amy Kaufman. I loved the originality of the formatting of these. If you don't know, which you probably do if you've been watching BookTube, these are all formatted by way of transcripts of emails and video logs and various other medias, and oh, they're just brilliant, both of them. They're both set sort of in the same place and about the same sort of events, but on a parallel timeline. So the events that are happened in Illuminate are happening in Gemena at the same time, but to different people, and they sort of link up at various points, and it's just a brilliant story. It's a brilliant science fiction series, and I can't wait to see where this one goes. Next up, thoroughly deserving its way on this list as well, is Morningstar by Pierce Brown. This is a third and final book in his trilogy, which started with Red Rising, Golden Sun, and culminating in Morningstar. This one I couldn't put down. I was shouting at the book. I was shouting at Caitlin, who I was reading it alongside. I wanted to know what was going on. It was twists and turns and action and adventure from start to finish, and I just really love this series. If you don't know much about it, I obviously can't tell you about this book in the series, but Red Rising is the story of Darrow. He works in underground mining with what we come to find are the Reds. They believe they're the only people on this planet, that they're working tirelessly to make the planet habitable for other people to come. Little do they know that people have been living above ground for a long time, and they are sort of different colours. People are put into colour categories depending on their sort of importance, and you've got the sort of golds that are higher up in the hierarchy, the godlike people who have special abilities. Darrow discovers this secret and starts to infiltrate the higher up levels in order to overthrow and shed light to the rest of the Reds and to cause a revolution, and it's brilliant. I love it. Definitely try it if you haven't already. And then the final one for this category is Bitter Greens by Kate Forsyth. I recently did a fairy tale retelling series with the lovely Janet at Swirly Girly Reads. We read the original fairy tale of a number of different fairy tales, and then we read a number of retellings from of those fairy tales, and one of our Rapunzel ones was Bitter Greens, and it was just a pure joy to read. It was the first book that I read by Kate Forsyth. She's written another book called Wild Girls, which I believe is sort of a fictionalized account of the girl that lives next door to the Grimm brothers. This one is about Rapunzel, and it's beautifully written. It follows the life of three different people. We follow Rapunzel, we follow the witch who takes Rapunzel in, and we also follow a young woman who is exiled from court, and we're following their stories as they weave and intertwine beautifully, and it's just wonderful. It's a real human story, and yeah, I just can't praise this one highly enough. You should definitely try it out if you enjoy fairy tales, if you enjoy the Rapunzel story, if you want a different take on it with some beautiful writing. It's brilliant. So those are my picks for science fiction and fantasy this year. Let me know if you've read any of these and if you've enjoyed them, and watch out tomorrow for my top 10 books of 2016. Bye for now, BookTube.